just live podcast where we talk about a lot of different health issues that impact our community. We want to make sure that our people are geared with a lot of the health that they need. And we're just so excited to just bring Dr. Hampton in here today, all the way from Chicago. So without further ado, I'm going to kick things off with Chad.
Thank you, Krista. I appreciate you. How y'all doing? First of all, give yourselves a round of applause because y'all look amazing. I want to shout out my sister Adisha. But did y'all enjoy that food? Did y'all? Okay, I would hope so because that tray, that tray spread thing she had out, I said, man, how much this cost? It cost $13,000. I said, I ain't pay for all this now. So give it up for my sister Adisha and Confectionately Yours, who always rock the house every time. Every event I got, it's going to be food from her. So if you're just hungry, stop by for the first 20 minutes to get you something to eat now. Because we're going to have some food. We ain't going to do nothing else. We're going to have something to eat. I want to bring her brother up. Oh, well, let me say this. We record Facebook Live. So if you got Facebook and you want to share this thing, go to Chad, C-H-A-D, last name Roper, R-O-P as in Peter, E-R, and just share this thing. Because some of your friends and family may not be here, and this is something they're not going to want to miss, all right? So share this thing. Throw it up there. You can say whatever you want. We in the house. Dreams never expire. Health is wealth, whatever you want to call it. And just share it so some of your friends and some of your followers can see this because they going to feel mad that they missed this one right here. This is a big deal right here. But what I want to do right now is bring my good brother up. Some people in here may know him because he told me he's a preacher. Now, I don't know. He looked like a preacher, but he told me he was a preacher. I heard him preach a couple times when we was recording his album together. So I think he really is a preacher because I heard the words he used to give me in the studio. You know, I was saved for like 2 minutes. Then I backslid right after that. No, I'm just playing. Let me bring up my good brother, Reverend Dr. Bishop, Pastor Marlon Locke.
Let the church say amen. Let the church say amen again. No, y'all listen. Get the other mic. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
Yep, you good.
Okay. Check 1, 2. I was going to sing my new song that just came out, Could Have Been Love, but I'm not here for that. But I really do got a song called Could Have Been Love that just came out. Don't worry about it. 99 cents. Help me out with these kids. So listen, I'm grateful to be here, man. I thank God for this opportunity, and I won't be long at all. But I want you to breathe in, then blow it out. Breathe in, then blow it out. Say, my dreams will never expire. Say it again. My dreams will never expire. Say one last time, my dreams will never expire. If you believe that, just make some type of noise if you believe your dreams will never expire. So I'm excited, y'all. We got all the way from Chicago, Illinois. Give it up for Dr. Hampton. His beautiful wife is with him. Just wave your hand. All right. We're grateful. Got a chance to meet him earlier and talk with him. Incredible man. I'm excited to get what he has for us. But on today, we're going to be learning about healing ourselves through our diet. Healing ourselves through our diet. For you ones that know me, as far as the ministry is concerned, we've been doing a lot of fasting and things of that nature. But we're going to learn some critical information. So that's why you want to share this with your family, your friends, and your loved ones, right? So that they can get this critical information. But what I want you to get out of today is 3 very important things. I'm reading a book called Crucial Conversations, right? Elder Kevin James told me about it. I'm grateful for the elder being and his family to be with us today. But a lot of people avoid the crucial conversation. And when it comes to our health and what we put in our bodies, especially in the African American community, how many can be a witness to say, you know what, I kind of avoid that. Matter of fact, some of y'all come to me and want blessed oil when you should just change your diet. I ain't going to stay there too long, right? Can you pray that I can eat these chitlins? You ain't supposed to have them, right? So with that being said, 3 things I want you to get. The first thing is to say, be intentional. Come on, say it like you mean it. Say, be intentional. Remember, growth doesn't just happen. In any area of your life, growth does not just happen. You got to be intentional. The second thing is, say the law of the mirror. You got to see value in yourself, which means you'll add value to yourself. That makes sense what I'm saying? So you all being here today and you ones that are watching live, you're adding value to yourself. And last but not least, the law of consistency. Say the law of consistency. Motivation will get you going, but discipline and consistency will keep you growing. So what Dr. Hampton is about to give us is going to be a wealth of knowledge, right? Make sure you take some good nuggets out of there, but say, I'm intentional. I'm seeing the value in being here. And also, I got to be consistent with the information that I got to pass on to others. All right? So real quick, we want to do a quick prayer. Put nothing in your mind but just Jesus. Father God, we thank you for this opportunity, allowing us to come together as your sons and your daughters. We thank you for traveling mercy and traveling grace. We thank you for Chad Roper. We thank you for Aurora Healthcare, Father God. We thank you for Dr. Hampton and everybody that made it here, Father God, and those that are watching live. Lord God, just be with us on today. Lead and guide us in the plain path, Father God. Thank you for the wealth of knowledge that we're going to get. Allow us to apply it to our lives. Father God, those of us that may be stubborn, remove that stony heart and give us a heart of flesh to receive the information that's going to be good for us and our families. Tonight, we change the trajectory of the lives of everyone connected with us for better health. And we thank you for doing it. We thank you for this platform. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Y'all, without further ado, I want to present to some and introduce to others again, Chad C-Note Roper.
Appreciate you. So look, we ain't gonna prolong this thing. We gonna get Dr. Hampton up here. Y'all showed the author of Fix Your Diet, Fix Your Diabetes, Dr. Tony Hampton. How you feeling, Doc?
I am just so excited to be here, a room full of beautiful people and who care enough to want to care about themselves and their families. Shout out to all the young people in the audience. I'm happy you're here as well. All right.
So, Doc, you wrote this book called Fix Your Diet, Fix Your Diabetes. What made you write this book?
It was actually my wife. My wife ended up facing type 1 diabetes as an adult. It just snuck up on her. She was upset about it, and I just said, you know what, let me do better than what I've done in the past. Let me try to figure out how to heal you as opposed to just treat her with medicine. So that took me on a journey, and then I realized that diabetes in particular was really more about the diet than anything else. So whether you're a type 1 requiring insulin or a type 2, I learned that you can't control it with medicines alone. You have to fix your diet, and that'll keep you from having all of these high sugars that you keep chasing with medicine. And once we figured that out, we were out to the races.
That's key, man. Yeah. That sugar, especially processed sugar, is a dangerous thing. Now, I want to say this, too, before we get started. So, I want to say what we're giving you right now, I don't want you to take what we're giving you as medical advice, right? Because everybody has their own doctors. Everybody's body is different. Obviously, things that work for me as a man is going to work differently for a woman. You know what I'm saying? So I want to understand. What we're going to do is we're going to give you information. But it's up to you guys to research the information we're giving you, because you got to research things for yourself, because your body is going to be different from any. Your sister, if it's sister and brother in here, or two sisters, their bodies are going to be different. Just because God is an amazing being who creates amazing things. So there's no two bodies that, even if it's twins, there are going to be some differences. So I want you to take this information that we give you and apply it to do your research, and then try to apply it to your life for you. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody hear me with that? All right, so I want you to be like, well, I saw this doctor say this, but he said that for him or for his wife, or I said something for me. So I always want to start that off, because a lot of times people think when we're sitting up here that we know all and be all. If we did, we'd be worth $500 billion a piece. You feel what I'm saying? So I just had to say that disclaimer before we went further into the conversation. All right, y'all with me? Yeah. All right, let's get to it. So, Dr. Hampton, why is there so much confusion when it comes to metabolic health?
Well, I think the problem is that most of the studies on nutrition have been based on, imagine someone sends you a survey to your house, and they say, how many steaks did you eat last year? How many blueberries did you eat last year? Or they just look at the computer and they look at all the information in the computer and then they make an assessment. And so what happens is a lot of nutritional science has been based on what they call food frequency questionnaires and looking at the computer. That's not research. And because that does not show cause and effect, meaning A equals B, then it only shows a hypothesis. So the hypothesis is that if you eat an egg, it's going to be good for you or bad for you. But it doesn't show that the egg is good or bad for you. So what we really need to do in nutrition and metabolic health is understand we need to look at research, randomized controlled trials. So once you look at that and it shows cause and effect, then you can make a judgment. So whenever you hear about research, the first question, was it real research or was it some survey study? And if it was a survey study, that's a nice hypothesis, but you can't make your dietary decisions based on that information.
Question: what is metabolic? I should start with this question. Let's explain to us what metabolic health is.
That's an important concept because I call myself the metabolic health doctor, and the question is why. Let's just say what it is. So that means that you have good blood pressure, you have a good blood sugar, your belly's not too round, you have good triglycerides and HDL. That's stuff you see in your cholesterol panel. And I didn't mention cholesterol and LDL, but the entire world is focused on cholesterol and LDL, but it has nothing to do with metabolic health for the most part. So the first thing is those are the 5 things. If 3 out of 5 of those things are not normal, then you're not metabolically healthy. Now the question is, how many people do you think in the United States are metabolically healthy? What percentage, right? And the answer is 7%.
Wow.
Now, if you start talking about communities of color, that number is probably less. And the problem with that is that if you're not metabolically healthy, you have a high risk for heart disease, stroke, cancer. They call cancer cells love sugar, and things like dementia. Dementia is called type 3 diabetes. So literally 70 to 80% of the medical conditions that harm us are all in this metabolic category. So if we fix metabolic health, you fix 80% of the things that have harmed you or your family members. So that's why I'm so focused on that. You get more return on investment. The good news is you don't fix it with medicine, you fix it with lifestyle.
And I learned the trick a while back, because at one point I weighed 250, right? That's a lot of weight for me to be carrying around. I'm down to 220 right now. But what I learned in my weight loss, when I lost weight, was when you go to the grocery store, my sister Adija, she preaches this. She says, everything on the outside of the grocery store is where you should be shopping. You want to know why? Because it's fresh. It's not processed. Everything on the inside, you got your boxes and your cans and your things of that nature. Those are all processed foods. Our bodies were made naturally. So our bodies require natural foods, not processed. Now, if you're in the house and you process, you worth a lot of money. If you in here and you came through by processed, you worth a lot of money. But 99.9% of us are all natural individuals. We came through the normal way of being born. And make sure you stick on the outside of the grocery store where you got your leafy vegetables, your fruits and things of that nature, as opposed to living within the inside. And a lot of times the outside costs more than the inside. And there's a reason why it costs more. I always use this analysis. How many of you guys ever seen a Rolls Royce commercial on TV? Anybody seen a Rolls Royce commercial? Anybody? On TV? You seen a Rolls Royce commercial? I've never seen one. I'm 45 years old. I've never seen a Rolls Royce commercial on TV. How many people seen a Honda or a Toyota, or just put your hands up if you've seen those kind of commercials before? You want to know why? The value. Not everybody can afford a Rolls Royce, right? But majority of people can afford a Honda or a Toyota or a Ford, right? Think of your body as a Rolls Royce. You're not going to put 89-cent gas, which is unleaded, in a Rolls Royce, because your Rolls Royce won't be roicing much longer. You get what I'm saying? So you got to put the right fuel in that Rolls Royce because the way the engine is set up. The same kind of engine is in the Rolls Royce. We got one 10 times better called a heart. It's a reason, right? You want to know why? Because you can go make a Rolls Royce. Have y'all seen them make hearts that work like a factory like that where you can just go buy a heart? Have you seen it? If you do, put me on game and give me the promotion code so I can get one on sale just like you. You know what I'm saying? So if you think about your body as a Rolls Royce, there's a reason why they put certain elements and they take time crafting it. The seats are made with a certain kind of leather. The dashboard is made a certain way. The tires on the car have to be a certain pressure or the whole car is off. It's crazy. Think about your body the exact same way. You got to balance your tires.
I got to add to that. So
yes, sir.
When you think about what he's saying, like if you were gifted with the ability to buy a car like that, how would you treat it, right? You would never put that regular gas in that car, right? So then you have to ask yourself, so I won't put the regular gas in my Rolls Royce, but then I'll put the regular gas in my body, right? You got to really ask yourself about our priorities. So what is an example of regular gas for a human being? Going back to your grocery store analogy, the first is sugar. Don't get sweet on Dr. Hampton. Sugar, we think of it as food, but it's just, now my wife, had to throw you into the mix, wife. She came to me from Mississippi, and her dad sent her some sugar cane. And I didn't even know what sugar cane was. And then I saw her grab a machete or something and cut it open, and I almost ran out the house. But I realized that sugar cane from that sugar was okay, but when you take that sugar cane and turn it into sugar, now you got a drug. So number one, stay away from sugar. Number two, processed foods, because they add a ton of stuff to it, and most of that's on the inside of in the middle of the grocery store. Believe it or not, the vegetable oils that they call vegetable oils, they're actually seed oils. They don't take a vegetable and make the oil. They take the vegetable seed, process it to death, and turn it into oil. So I would stay away from many of the vegetable oils. I would do things like, butter, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil. Those are pressed, and then you get oil. That's natural. You don't have to process it. And I think those are the types of things, those highly refined grains that are in those boxes, the soys and corn, those things will harm you as well. So if you stay on the outside of the grocery store and stop eating those things that are on the inside, that's the first, takeaway. And it's a very simple thing to do. Sugar, too many grains or highly refined grains, seed oils, and processed food. That simple approach will change your life. That'll force you to shop on the outside of the grocery store.
Right. And that right there shows us why the messaging in diet is so confusing. Because what we do is we do what we were taught as a child, right? So I know me, my grandmother used to fry everything. You know what I'm saying? The greens had everything oinking and snorting in it, if you get what I'm saying, right? So I had to retrain myself. It's hard to, if you have a habit of whatever your habit is, eating whatever for 30 years, it's hard to change the diet instantly. The hardest thing to do is to change your diet. The hardest thing to do is to stop eating sugar, processed. You want to know why? Because the same part of your brain that craves sugar is the same part of your brain when someone gets addicted to drugs and stuff like that. So, I've had people in my family who have been addicted to drugs. It's a hard thing to kick, a hard addiction to get rid of. Same concept applies when it comes to eating that processed sugar. Yeah. And guess what? I'll still be sneaking donuts. Don't act like I'm up here perfect, because I'm going to sneak a donut tonight probably. I ain't going to
Let me throw one more thing at you with that. So when you think about, what type of food or diet is the healthiest diet? Let's talk about that for a moment. A lot of people will hear different types of diet: Mediterranean, the DASH, which is the dietary approach to stop hypertension, vegan, carnivore, keto, all these diets. Anybody have an idea what's the best diet to live long? Any thoughts? Plant-based diet. Any other takers? Fruit-based diet. Okay, so we got plant, fruit. Anybody else? Go ahead. Oh, blood type. So we got 3 types of diet. Anything else? Right, fresh vegetables. Okay. Pescatarian, that's when you're using fish and vegetables. So let's pause with that. So let's keep it simple. On a high level, that all those answers had a potential to be correct. So I'm a scientist, so I'm like, where do people live the longest? Now, most of us kind of know plant-based is highly regarded in this country, right? So you think about Japan and Italy and the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California. They're more plant-based. And yes, they live 7 to 10 years longer than the average American. So we know that works. But the question is, are there any places on the planet where people who eat meat can live a long life? Do you have any idea where that is? I'm going to give you the answer. It's in Hong Kong. So in Hong Kong, they eat on average 2 12-ounce steaks every single day per person. So that's a little bit of a disconnect. How can in one place you have to eat plants to live long, and then in another place you eat a lot of meat? And that's the disconnect. And the reason is complicated, but it starts with like they eat real food, right? So they'll eat the steak or even the pork, believe it or not, but they will eat fresher meats and things like that. Number 2, it's not just the food, right? They have social connection and community. They move their body. They get outside and connect with nature. And they have a system of, my wife is here. She's here to support me, right? That'll help you live long as well. So the first thing I want to say to you guys, please do not get caught up in the dogma that steak's going to kill you. That's just not true, based on what I just told you. Because they live, in Hong Kong, they live the longest. So if you just look that up, longevity, Hong Kong meat, you'll see it online. But it's one of those things. So my goal is to not focus on vegans versus carnivores. My job is to say, are you eating real food or not? Do you have support around you? I was just blessed to notice that literally before we started, my health system just put out that we're going to have coaches for our patients. So now, because I know what I say in my 15-minute appointment is not going to be enough, right? I can make YouTube videos and all of that. What I really need is a coach to walk with you when you struggle, to help you when your significant other is saying, I don't know if I can eat that cauliflower rice. I can't eat that. So what do you do in those moments when you struggle? So I just want to put out there are multiple ways to become metabolically healthy, and it's not what you've been told. Because what I just told you is fact. And you can look that up just to kind of get a feel for why you need to think bigger and broader.
Now, I like the way you phrased that, because as a doctor, you just said, you can't tell me what everything I need in 15 minutes. But there are some testing we can ask for when we go to the doctor to find out how to hit that metabolic, to correct our metabolic health, right? So give us some of the testings that we should ask our doctor, since we paying all this money to come see y'all. I mean, I had a doctor the other day, man. I wanted to go slap the doctor. I said, man, I at least deserve a slap or something for this amount of money I'm spending. Right. I mean, that's a joke, but cool. You get what I'm saying. So, what testing should we at least ask for so that we know that because when you take your car to get an oil change, they come back and tell you all type of stuff your car needs. Your windshield wipers, they kind of, you know what I mean. You might want to do the transmission fluid because of this. Do they have? Maybe it's just me. Maybe they just power sell. They made it think I'm rich and they just power selling me. But I know every time I go, I said, dog, last week y'all rotated my tires, dog. The week before that, y'all gave me a new filter. What's this week? What's this month? You know what I'm saying? So what do we need to ask for testing-wise? I want them to know this so that they can advocate. Because the goal for these type of events is to help you advocate for yourself. Because nobody can advocate for you like you. Because even, let's say, I'm with my wife and we go to the doctor and something is wrong, I can advocate for her, but she got to say really what's wrong. I can't advocate for her as good as she can advocate for herself. So I want to make sure I get these questions out so you'll know what to ask. And even if you're a high school student or a young kid, I want you guys to understand it too, because as you become adults, you'll begin to teach your kids these things. So Doc, what testing should we ask for?
So anybody know anybody with diabetes in your family? Anybody know anybody with heart attack or heart disease in your family, right? So you get a lot of hands that go up. And again, I told you only 7% of us are metabolically healthy, so no surprise, right? So Imagine getting an education that teaches me how to manage disease with medicines and never being told about tests that can predict a future heart attack or a test that can predict future diabetes 5 to 10 years in advance. Wouldn't it be nice to know what that test is?
Absolutely.
So let's start with that. So everybody should get a fasting insulin level, because if your pancreas, which is under your left rib, is working really well, it'll actually keep your blood sugar normal because it's doing its job. The problem is it's working so hard because of that donut that eventually it's going to get, I'm sorry, I had to go there. That was an easy target, right?
I'm going down the flames. I'm going to go down the flames, y'all. My bad. I'm going to go down the flames.
So if you do it fast, so what insulin does is it's working hard. The insulin level is going to go high before the sugar goes high, because it's trying to keep it in check. So you can predict diabetes 5 to 10 years in advance. So all the things we tell people to do, at least in my clinic, to reduce the sugar and starch, I can convince them because their insulin level is high, but their sugar is okay. And that includes that hemoglobin A1C, which is a 3-month test. It's also 6.8 times more predictive of a heart attack than a cholesterol level or the so-called LDL bad cholesterol. It's way better. And your blood pressure is even more predictive of a heart attack than the cholesterol and the LDL. That's why I don't focus on that. So that's number one. Fasting insulin.
What's that? Fasting?
Fasting insulin.
Fasting insulin.
Now
test.
be careful, because insurance companies don't always cover that test, so you may want to find out before you ask your doctor to order it. Even if they don't cover it, it's not expensive, but I just want you to be aware. Number 2, everybody should, over the age of 35, so I'll leave the kids out and the young adults, everybody should get a coronary artery calcium score test. In our health system, that's a $49 test. So why do a cholesterol test, which is not as predictive anyway, when you can do this heart scan, which is the best test on the planet to predict a future heart attack. It measures how much calcium is in your arteries to determine do you have plaques or not, versus using a test that says you're at risk for plaques. So those are the first two. You're already getting a cholesterol test, so instead of worrying about the cholesterol and the LDL, there is a test for the particles of the LDL, which is the bad cholesterol.
Yes.
You look for the large and small particles. The small particles are problematic. They get stuck in the arteries. The large particles bounce off the arteries. They're not as predictive. So if you're going to do LDL, try to break it down to particle sizes. Your doctor doesn't normally order that. Instead, focus on the triglycerides and the HDL. That's the fat divided by the good cholesterol. That ratio should be less than 2. And if you do that test, and I'll say to others really quickly, there's a test, because you can probably watch this later.
No, we don't want you to say it quickly. Take your time.
Take my time?
We got all night.
All right, cool.
That's
And by the way, the triglycerides is when I know you're cheating. So if I tell you to reduce the carbs for your diabetes or your blood pressure, your triglycerides are like fat. So when you do a low-carb diet, your body starts burning belly fat. Isn't it nice to just burn belly fat while you're watching the game, right?
It's beautiful.
Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Oh, man, I'm trying to burn it right now. Right? I can see it.
So you become fat or keto adaptive. You burn in belly fat for fuel. And the reason why I know that you're being honest about your diet is your triglycerides are fat. So guess what? If that number's not low, that means you're not doing that diet. So that's one of the things I use to predict how my patients are doing. I look at the triglycerides, and we go from there. Really? Now, there's a test which is a little bit more complicated, and you got to ask about cost. Lipoprotein, small particle A. Most doctors don't order that. That's very predictive of a heart attack. Something called the Apolipoprotein B to A ratio. That's something your doctor can order. That's important. C-peptide, which tells you if you're type 1 or type 2 diabetic, but it's also a test for inflammation. These are metabolic tests that you typically don't get. But because metabolic health is the number one way to kind of determine if you're going to have a chronic disease, we should be doing this test. So what I would do as a doctor, leader in my health system, I'm trying to encourage the insurers to cover all of these tests, but the fasting insulin and that $50 test that's for your heart, that's where I would start, and then you can kind of go from there.
See, I like that. So this is what I want to do. How many people I just went to the doctor, right? I ain't know nothing about this. So I'm going to have to hit them with that 50. How many people think spending $50 to know if your heart attack, if you have a heart attack is worth the $50? Anybody here believe that? So now let me ask you this. Who wants to get that test but don't have the $50? Okay, because if somebody raised their hand, I was going to pay the $50 for you. because it's important. Because guess what? You came to my thing, I can at least invest $50 in you. But since everybody here rich, that's even beautiful. That's even beautiful. But I want to make sure, because I think it's extremely important. The reason why I'm saying this, I think it's extremely important that we get at least those 2 tests. Because if I could predict, it's like I saw a movie where it was on their arm, it had time, and it was counting down, right? And you basically knew when you were going to die because your time would expire on your arm. It's kind of like a cheat code to that. Now, I ain't saying you can't get hit by a car or some other stuff, whatever, but I would like a little kind of like when I play video games, I'll go on YouTube to find a little cheat code so I can play better, right? This is like a $50 cheat code kind of, right? I'm like, okay, my such and such is off. Let me fix my diet. So name that. Give me that $50 test again. I'm going to call it the $50, but he going to give you the direct name so you can use it. What is it called, Doc?
It's called a coronary artery calcium score or a heart scan, and then, of course, the fasting insulin is the other one.
Make sure y'all put that down. It's extremely important to have those. Coronary? We're going to ask y'all to Google coronary now. Go ahead.
CORONARY, coronary. I'm from the west side of Chicago, so why, you put me in a spot. Artery, coronary artery calcium, CALCIUM score. Coronary artery calcium score test. If you search that with Advocate Health, it'll pop up. Other health systems probably offer it as well, but it's $50. I don't know how they make a living doing that at that cost. Because just getting a radiologist to read something, that's $100 right there.
Yeah, facts.
So, but they care so much about the community, they're trying to make it affordable.
Right. So make sure if we ain't learned nothing today, we're going to get that coronary
artery calcium score.
I'm trying to think of the initials.
CAC.
The CAC score.
CAC.
CAC score? We're going to get that CAC score test. Yeah, so we got to make sure we get that. Right? All right. That led right into that. That thing led right on into there. All right, my next question, Doc. This is a little off, similar to the topic. So you got a YouTube channel, right? Yeah. Tell everybody what that YouTube channel is.
So really, if you just type in my name, Dr. Tony Hampton, on YouTube, you'll see the channel, and that's TONY. Or you can do Dr. Tony Hampton link tree, because the link tree has a link to how to do a low-carb diet, resources. Like that handout you have is on the channel. So I think I talk about everything, but I think there are other resources I try to point you to, like Beat Diabetes, a great channel. Dennis Pollock, he's a pastor as well, and he's a guy with diabetes. I'm blessed to not have it at this point in my life, and he shows you why the rice may be a problem for a diabetic versus cauliflower rice. This is the difference between 11 teaspoons of sugar with rice and 1 teaspoon of sugar with cauliflower rice. If you don't know that, you'll be sitting there eating the rice thinking, what's the problem?
Right.
It's 11 teaspoons of sugar worth of problem. So we want to make sure that people know a banana has 7 teaspoons of sugar. Just little nuggets like that, and you won't get confused about. And your best test to know is your meter if you're diabetic. Your meter an hour after you eat something will tell you should or shouldn't have eaten that. And then once you just have to honor that and be honest with that once you learn that information.
That makes sense, man. But I wanted to make sure y'all. That's how I kind of got some nuggets when I was going to his YouTube page. And I watched what he said, but then I went on here to research it to see if it fit me. That's how I did it. Not saying he ain't told no lies, but I don't care who it is. My mama can tell me something. I'm going to go double check on. We got too many access.
Just like the meter, right? The meter, you can listen to any social media influencer, but your meter will tell you, right? So I don't care what the doctor or the scientist says, you test it on yourself.
Right. So let's say you have one of these chronic diseases. What is the best approach to starting the healing process within yourself or in your own home as opposed to depending on medication? Like me, I have high blood pressure, so there's certain things I'm just not going to eat. Just by genetically, I have hypertension. Yeah. So I'm just not going to touch it. I try
to think about what they do in Hong Kong and what they do in Japan and Italy and places like that. And so I think broader. And I do believe that you have to individualize what you do to fit who you are. So don't eat stuff that you don't like, right? You just want to figure out what you like, that fits. So one of the things that me and the pastor talked about before we got started was fasting, right? So I know some of the church members here have fasted. Let's give your body a break. I was talking about how the pancreas keeps making all that insulin. Can't we just give it a break? So today I've eaten once. I've eaten lunch, and I'll have dinner afterwards, but that didn't happen until around 2 o'clock. Was I hungry? No, because my body was burning belly fat while I was not eating. So the first thing is fasting is a gift, literally from above. Number 2 is we talked about eating real food, so we're going to eat real food, avoid the sugar, the processed grains, the seed oils and things like that. Number 3, you got to move your body, right? So. And just going back to that car, we can leave that expensive car in the garage. And we did this experience. We had a nice car. We're doing this family thing. We got a minivan. So we took the fancy car and put it in the garage. About 9 months later, we took it out of the garage. Do you think it ran well?
Not at all.
It did not. Yeah. And the dealer, the guy, he was like, what's wrong with you? Cars were made to be driven. Human bodies were made to be driven. I actually, there's a video. If you search my name, Dr. Tony Hampton, Dr. Ben, his name is Dr. Ben Bokikio. Just remember Dr. Ben. And in the notes, it shows you how to use bands, a total gym, or a regular gym. I promise, my wife will testify, I exercise 15 minutes twice a week. That's it. I use high intensity because I'm busy. I don't have time to be at the gym for 2 hours.
Right.
So you don't have to hurt yourself, and bands are very safe. So now we're doing the exercise. We know sleep's important. Sleep is so important that sometimes you choose sleep over other things. It's that important because if you don't get enough sleep, you will not function very well.
Facts.
We know about stress. It's okay. Me and my wife were sitting down, and I said, let's do a little meditation. We just went to YouTube. We said couples meditation, 5 minutes. And 5 minutes later, we had done meditation. We got to learn to manage stress because stress leads to too much sugar. Sugar leads to not just diabetes, but high blood pressure. Your high blood pressure is a sugar problem more than it's a salt problem, and people don't realize that. How you think matters. And when you go back to those other civilizations that live a long time, they have purpose. My purpose is to be a good husband, to be a good father, and to make sure you guys are metabolically healthy. If I sit on this stage and live my purpose, I feel complete. So part of your journey of being healthy is why were you born? Why are you here? And can you get to the business of doing what it is you were born to do? And then we go to relationships. I have a healthy marriage. She supports me. She's here. Do you have any people in your life that don't do that? And if they aren't doing that, get some help. And if the help's not working, get to stepping. Because it's going to kill you. It's like a toxin. I'm serious. And then finally, I would say, have a sense of community. I know we have a church family here. I'm in the low-carb world, so I have I'll be speaking in San Diego at the Metabolic Health Symposium. So I have this community of people who are similar in terms of how they approach eating, and that's a community that supports me. People have the church community, and so have people in your life that matter, and remove the people in your life that are harming you. And that's kind of how it's like a holistic approach.
And that makes sense. So what I do, I'm gonna give y'all a little trick on a little secret on what I do. So every month, by the 3rd of each month, I take inventory of all my relationships. I'm not talking about like your girlfriend, boyfriend. I'm talking about any relationship, friendship, everything. And in those relationships, I see how the balance is. Now, no relationship is ever gonna be 50-50. If somebody tells you that, they lying. But it shouldn't be 90-10. It shouldn't be 80-20. It shouldn't be 75-25. You get where I'm going with this thing. It could be 59-41. You feel me? I ain't mad at that. I ain't mad at 60-40. You know what I'm saying? But when we start getting past 35 and 65, we kind of like, yeah, we gon'. And then another thing is, if you remove yourself from that relationship, not just man and woman, just relationship, friendship, whatever. I'm just using relationship as a loose term. If you remove yourselves from that relationship, did that individual or individuals notice? If they did not notice, continue to let them not notice and continue to move forward. Because realistically, you was holding more of the weight than they were. You see what I'm saying? So whatever day of the month, once a month you do, do that. Mine is by the third. I got between the first and the third to reevaluate the relationships. And after that, it's been a lot of people been going. And this is what you realize, and this is something I got from this pastor of y'all's over here, this big preacher now. We was in the studio, and he said, this was, I don't know, how many years ago did we do it? 5 years ago, maybe? Something like that? 6 years? He said, C-note, that's what he called me. C-note, are your gifts being used for your purpose and for the right people? I said, you know what? That's a pretty deep question. Get in the booth and cut the vocals so I can think about it. You know what I'm saying? But think about, that's a heck of a statement for somebody to ask you, because what it does is it makes your mind. Now, the whole time he recording, I'm sitting there thinking, he's like, how did that sound? Oh, it was cool, let's do it again. And my mom, like, I wasn't even listening to him. I was thinking about the question he asked because it's that important. So are the gifts that you have, are you using them for your purpose, and are you using them for the right people? I have a gift of speaking. I'm not a pastor, I'm not a doctor, I'm a musician, I'm a producer, I'm a songwriter, that's what I am. But I still have a gift to speak. So I started this nonprofit in these events so that I can help people. And I always think, when I say my people, I don't mean just black people. I mean people that rock with me. My girl Mal be at all my joints. This family right here. We different races, but this is my girl, this is my road dog right here. Because Mal rocks with me. When I gave away turkeys and all that, she was right there, giving away turkeys and food with us. So when I say my people, I mean people that rock with you. Are you supporting people that rock with you? Doc?
I want to give just a resource. So I'm a family doctor, so I'm used to like pointing people towards resources. And as you talked about relationships, and I appreciate the relationship you have here, don't think that you've figured it out. Like I've been in school, I got an MBA, I'm a doctor, I got a master's in nutrition, but do I know how to have a good relationship with my wife, right? So most people of color I've talked to, when I started talking about getting help, they're like, I don't know about that. I ain't crazy. I never said they were crazy. But what you learn is you need tools when you're dealing with difficult situations, right? There's one tool we learned about called the aftermath of a regrettable incident. You should look that up. And it just tells you step by step, what do I do when my significant other comes at me some kind of way? The aftermath of a regrettable incident. And what happens is, what I had to learn is that if I'm talking to my wife, but I'm really not looking at her, and she may have a stone face. So if I'm talking in that moment and she has a stone face, is she hearing anything I'm saying? No. So I'm really just wasting my time. So when you have tools, one other tool that you guys could look into is Dr. Gottman, who did research on relationships. It's Gottman. Dr. Gottman and his wife. They literally took just a room full of couples, 800 or so, and they put them into research. They called it the Love Lab, and they watched them, and they saw how they talked to each other, and they can literally meet you and your significant other, and within 30 minutes know at a 93% accuracy if you guys are going to make it, based on how you talk and interact. So if that's out there and you don't know about that, you are missing an opportunity to have a healthier relationship. So number one, get a therapist. I think everybody, I'm so happy our organization is doing coaching. We all need coaching. I need leadership coaching, relationship coaching, how to take care of my kids coaching, because you don't know nothing. You don't even know what you don't know. And number two, take advantage of those resources and engage your significant other and say, baby, you know what? I know we're doing okay, but even if you're doing okay, don't you want to do better, right? So, and if you're not doing okay, you definitely need to get help. So please take advantage of those resources, because if you're not happy at home, you're just miserable. You're already struggling because of the job, right? And then you go home and not happy. So make sure you take advantage of those resources.
Now, this is the thing I hear a lot. How many of y'all heard the word detox, right? You heard it before, detox? I'm a detox this week. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about this word detox, because I feel like it's overused. You know what I'm saying? Like how people use the word woke wrong, you know what I mean? I feel like the word detox. So let's talk about detox, Doc. is that a scientific thing? And if it is, what does it mean in a positive way for our health?
Well, your body is amazing. If you think about how many chemicals you're exposed to every day, your body I recently, I was learning how to use a gun because it's concealed carry. You got to go to class. You go to this range and you just sniff the air and it smells like lead or whatever it is, right? That can't be good for you, right?
Right.
So, but my point of it is that detoxification, your liver is what you kind of think of, but there's phases, phase 1, phase 2, and it's really just taking whatever toxin your body has been introduced to, and your body's trying to make it where it won't harm you. Now, I hate to use alcohol as an example, but alcohol to your body is considered a toxin. Mm-hmm. So when you consume alcohol, everything else stops. It's not going to burn ketones, which is fat fuel. It's not going to burn sugar. That's why it's a little bit of a problem for diabetics. Alcohol has to be removed from your body or it's going to harm you, and your body does a great job of doing that, just so you know. So when I think
get
about...
your drink on. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead, Doc. I just had to
Hey,
put it
man, I got to know who I'm working with, right? So, you should have told me.
Hey, give me another shot. No, I'm just...
So when I think about detox, I don't think about just going to the health food store and buying some detoxification. And those products are actually good. They do things that really heal the liver and make it possible. The first thing I think about is, believe it or not, I think about stress. Because if you're like in a laid back, relaxed mindset, then your body can detoxify you. If you're not eating if you're skipping breakfast and you're fasting, your body has the bandwidth to detox. So the first thing is, let's leave this, if I'm talking medical, let's leave this sympathetic fight and flight stress to where it's parasympathetic, where your body's relaxed. And so the first thing is to get to the point where you're not really stressed, right? The next thing I think about, and I learned this in my master's in nutrition and functional medicine training, you have to do kind of what's in my diet that's harming me already. So for me, am I allergic to certain food, certain things? So you can actually literally think about things that are more allergic, like soy, and believe it or not, I eat eggs all the time, but eggs for some people, peanuts. There are certain foods that are harmful. And imagine never knowing that you're eating something, it kind of bothers you a little bit, but you don't realize that it's actually harmful, right? So I ask my patients to consider, let's move all of those known. If you just search on the internet, foods that are highly allergic, you'll get about 8 of them. And then what you do is, let me remove that, and let me just try to see how my body responds to that. So the first thing is to get rid of the stress, get rid of the things that may be harming you, and then you can add those things back gradually. The functional medicine people have a way for you to kind of do that and cleanse yourself. The third thing I think about is staying away to things that harm us. So you don't even think about, like, plastic, right? So, plastic has stuff in it that's harmful. So you say, well, maybe I can start thinking about, let me get a filter that I can use instead. So when you walk in your home, am I using cleaning products that are toxic? Am I using a toothpaste? I just had a recent guest who has a natural toothpaste. Can I change it to a natural toothpaste? So what you want to do, can I open the windows in my house and let some air in? Even the stuff that's supposed to make the house smell better, is that really good for you? Maybe the baking soda is better for you instead. So what you want to do is start to gradually, actually interview someone from my podcast, Wendy Trubo. And my wife was like, saying, what are you doing on the internet? The title to her book is called Dirty Girl. Yeah, so my wife's like, why are you searching Dirty Girl on the internet?
He was detoxifying. He was just detoxifying. It wasn't nothing.
I almost got in trouble.
I'll search all the time. I'll just be looking for food. No,
and ultimately, she said she was dirty because she was filled with toxins. So,
Gotcha.
And it's not just for, so the whole point is resources like that show you how to gradually start to remove away the things that are harming you, and then add the things to your life that are not harming you. And then by the time you look up, you're like, man, I'm feeling better. Right. And those little things you're exposed to will harm you eventually. It's just very subtle. And you're like, I don't know where this cancer came from. It's years of being exposed to the wrong stuff. So that's how I look at it.
That makes sense, man. It's like if you consistently pick at something over years, it can do two things. It could be positive or negative. You know how there's a saying that says, boiling water can do two things. It can harden the egg, and it can soften the potato. It just depends on what environment the boiling water touches. So, if you put yourself in pressure situations, and we use this a lot in the music industry, you know what they say about pressure. It busts pipes, and it makes diamonds. But the difference is, what are you doing when you're in the pressure? To make a diamond, you go through a carbonation process, which takes longer, right? To bust a pipe, you just got to be one little couple things wrong and it's over with. So there are a lot of things that stress us out because it's a process that we're going through. But once we make it to the end of the process, we be like right at the end of the process, it'd be like one little piece of carbon, black carbon on our shoulder, and we quit. We had 1 more week, 2 more days, and we quit. But if we can just make it through the whole carbonation process, we shine like new money, baby. Every rip. But how do we make it through the process? If we dietarily on point, and the toxins are gone, and our relationships, all of our relationships, friendships, everything are on point, it allows us to then be able to take the pressure more. You understand what I'm saying? You're in better shape. It's like going to the gym. I wish you could just take your mind, pull it out your head, and throw it on the treadmill and let it work. Right? I wish you could do that. And just let it run, and you get smarter and all that. You know what I'm saying? A brain gym. Well, there is a brain gym. It's called problems. But we look at problems like a bad thing because we're taught problems are bad, right? But if we start looking at problems as exercise for our mind, you be like, man, what are the problems at today, man? I got some, understand me? I got to do me some lifting today, some brain lifting today. So if we could just change our thought process as to where the problems at today. Not saying you want issues with nobody, but things that I can actually solve. You know what I'm saying? You figuring out things. So those type of things is, if you notice, everything Dr. Hampton has been saying is leading back to the mental side of things. It's hard to do anything when your mind messed up. You know what I'm saying?
I got something for you. I'm going to make this easier because when you're a regional medical director and you have these roles, right, you're always faced with problems, right? So I learned from a coach, a leadership coach taught me this. He said, you're trying to solve all the world's problems yourself. And he said, you work on yourself, but when you're dealing with family, friends, other clinicians, you don't have to solve all the problems. He said, keep it simple. He said, number one, if they got an issue, tell them to name what the issue is. So name the problem, right? And then you say this to your kids. What would you like to change? How would you like to change things to solve that problem? When would you like to get started doing that? And then we're going to touch base in a week. So I've learned that as a leader, I've been able to solve more problems by allowing the other people to solve the problems for me. And what happens is people feel more invested in what they come up with. You don't have to fix everything. For me, it's about deciding. I talked about why you were born, why am I up here? I tell my patients, what is your goal? What are you trying to achieve? It's another, I like acronyms, so it's called GRIN. So what's your goal? That's the G. And I don't want the goal to be, I just want to lose 5 pounds. I want the goal to be, I want to be able to get on my knees and play with my grandchild. That's more important. So it's got to be impactful. And then I say, well, it's going to be hard to lose those 50 pounds. So the R is for what are your resources, right? And I'm not talking about the handout you got today. I'm talking about who's going to make you accountable, right? Who's going to support you. Is it the church family? Is it your spouse? Is it your girlfriend? Make sure that they know. And I will pick up the phone during a clinic visit and say, put your wife on the phone. Put your husband on the phone. Put your girlfriend on the phone. And I'll say, this is what your friend has agreed to. This is what your spouse agreed to today. Are you willing to walk with them? And then I make them comfortable. The I is for incremental change. You don't have to build Rome in a day.
Right.
All right? So if you just check the box, I did that 15-minute exercise thing that Dr. Tony was talking about, you good. I don't care if you don't even have to look at the scale. You can say, I did it, and I'm working towards my goal. So be comfortable with incremental change. And then the N is for noticing when you have success. Sometimes it's not the scale. Because if you're doing that exercise thing and you're eating better, guess what? You may gain muscle. You may lose fat, but you're gaining muscle, so your weight don't change.
Right.
So maybe it's the belt buckle that changes. It's not the scale. So I tell patients, you have a lot of power if we can get inside your head. I think 80% of your success is above your neck, right? If I get up on this stage and my brain's not right, I'm not going to be able to do it. But I get my brain right, and that's what you have to do. You can do anything you want to do. I grew up on the west side of Chicago in what's still a tough neighborhood, was back then, still is, and yet you can't let those barriers stop you from dreaming. You can't let that happen. I was shocked. I told you before we started, one of my good friends, Dr. Pete Thomas in Chicago, he said he was on a TikTok video with another person, and the kids responded to the video by saying, I've never seen a black doctor before in 2023. So we have a problem. So we need to make sure we give our kids hope. We need to make sure we have hope. We have to be optimistic. And we also have to be careful what we're consuming, because if you consume negativity all day, you're going to be thinking about negativity all day. So I just want you to have awareness of the world, but don't get caught up in the lie that you are a part of that world. You can do so much better than that. So I just want to make sure your brain, if you walk out of here with nothing, understand that it's all above your neck. And if you get that brain right, there's no limits to what you can do.
And I use this analogy because I'm an analogy-aholic. So I saw this video where there was a baby elephant, and they had the baby elephant tied to a tree. Right? Have y'all heard this before? And for, I guess, 5 months, as the elephant was getting bigger, kept the elephant tied to a tree. So it only had a certain circumference it can go around. The elephant got more mature from the baby to the, I guess, adolescent stage. They took the rope off. The elephant still walked within the same radius around that tree, because mentally, that's as far as the elephant could go in the elephant's mind. So, don't be that elephant. I grew up in the city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, like everybody else. I went to Rufus King High School. I grew up in the hood. Hey, generals, okay then. But check this out. When I got into this music industry, I said, I don't want to be the best in the city. If I take a loss, I want somebody from somewhere else to beat me. That was my mindset, because I was a baseball player. So I wanted to be the coldest in the world. Didn't happen, but that was my mindset. But because my mindset was like that in that area, it carried over to everything else I do. So when I lost my first Grammy, I lost it to a woman who lives from London named Adele. I don't mind losing for somebody from London. I just didn't want to lose to nobody on 15th and Capitol. You see what I'm saying? I'll take that London L, because I'm on the way over there anyway. So we back at you, Adele. But the goal was, the mindset wasn't being in the best in the city. And a lot of us have that. I just use that analogy as we want to be the best at what we are. We want to be a big fish in a small pond. And one thing about fish, they only grow as big as the water is. It's certain fish, you be like, I ain't never known a catfish could be that big. Or I ain't never known whatever type of fish could be this big. Well, it was only in this size pond or this size thing, but you put it in the ocean, it's bigger than you. So you got to have that same mindset. You in the ocean, not a pond, not a river, not a lake. Because the ocean, one thing about the ocean is it touches continents. And that's what you want. You want to be a continent mindset individual. Whatever your thing is can take you across the globe. Man, I've been up here, I've been speaking all over this country, and I'm not a doctor. I ain't got a PhD, an ABC, an elemental P. I ain't got none of that. You know what I'm saying? But the mindset is there, though. That's what we want. We want to have that mindset. So everything goes back to the mind with us. And that's what I want my people, meaning anybody who rock with me, say that with me, anybody who rock with me is my people. And I want us to have that mindset that no matter where we are the top of wherever we are. You get what I'm saying? And one thing Dr. Hampton touched on was he was talking about helping people solve problems. Never allow people's mistake to become your emergency. Did y'all catch that? Never allow people's mistakes to become your emergency. Meaning, Mel, I just gambled all my money away. My rent due, I need $1,000. Now, how me gambling my money away gonna be her emergency? She didn't roll the dice. She didn't play roulette. She didn't call black or red. You see what I'm saying? Never allow other people's mistakes to become your emergency. That's key. When you change that, God be blessing y'all, right? God will hit you with a $10,000 piece. He'll hit you, boom, here go 10 G's. Now you ain't never got 10 G's in your life, but you done told your family you got 10 G's. That 10 G's become 2 G's. God gave you, now you got a $2,000 blessing. You get you feel where I'm coming from? So make sure as you reevaluate your relationships between the third and the first, I'm just throwing those dates out there again, that you understand when you're getting blessed the month before, you can see it because you didn't allow other people's emergencies to become, other people's mistakes to become your emergency.
I got another resource for you.
Yeah.
Man, one of the best words in the English book. Anybody know what that word is? Exactly. But the problem with the word no is so hard to use that word. It's hard. And shout out to all my sisters here because you're the nurturers of the planet. And it's even harder for my sisters to do it, right? Because you're just taking care of the crew. Everybody in the nest, I call my podcast Protecting Your Nest. You guys are really good at that. So the resource is a book called Boundaries by Henry Cloud. Familiar with that? Gotta go there because it teaches you how to say no. You don't want to be an enabler. Boundaries by Henry Cloud, because an enabler gives crack to the crackhead.
Yep.
Right? So you don't want him to go through withdrawal, so I got to give it to him this time.
Right.
And then the next time you're going to say the same thing. Sometimes you got to sit there and just hold on to them and pray for them, be there for them. And that crackhead is that $100,
right?
That $1,000, because they made some decisions and they can't grow. So when I learned to say no to people, I thought it was going to be the most impossible thing to do. But when you say no on that phone and then you hang it up, you feel so good. Because you know you're blessing them. You're making them better. And they're going to be okay. So I just want to, so there's a way for us to, and again, it goes back to you don't have to keep doing it the same way you've been doing it.
Right.
Because if you don't say no, it changes the relationship. You're sitting at the dinner table, and it's a debtor and a dettee. It's not a daughter and a parent. It's not a cousin and an uncle, whatever. So now your relationship has changed, and now you have a bad relationship because you didn't know how to say no.
Right.
So just keep that in mind. Use these resources and promise yourself that I'm going to be better tomorrow. That's incremental change, right? How are you going to look a year from now? Are you going to be the same person? Are you going to be the same person that can't say no to the people that you need to say no to? Or are you going to be different? And I was the nicest guy you'll ever meet, but I learned to say. My wife at first said, "You mean?" I'm not mean. I just learned how to say no when it was appropriate. And I certainly help those who need it when it's appropriate.
And before we close this thing, if somebody call your phone that ain't called in a long time, right? And they just want to see how you doing. Listen, man, them be the ones you hate to see. Just put a no behind their name so when it pop up, you already know what to say. I got a whole bunch of no's. Such and such, no. You know what I'm saying? Go and get the nose out the way right now. Just go on and program it. So that sometimes you ain't got to pick up because you already know what time it is. They only call you every, 5-7 months. You know how it go, right? But before we check out of here, right, I want to take at least 3 questions if anybody has any. If anybody got a question, do we got any questions out here? I want to give y'all opportunity. Okay, we got one right there. You got another one? We got two over here. And then we got three. All right. Okay, we're going to do four more. I cannot say no to you. He just said say no, but we got four. So we're gonna end with her. My first question.
So you mentioned the CAR, or is it the CAC test, the $50 test? My question is, with a test like that, if I go take that test because I'm simply interested in learning where am I, medically speaking, will the results of that test end up on my medical records, which could potentially draw red flags for insurance companies when I'm considering purchasing insurance?
You're a smart man.
That's a great question.
That's
Get
a
your
great
insurance
question.
first, then take the test.
Right.
That's what I did. Hey, go get you $1 million out the gate. Go get you $1 million for $70 a month, and then go take the test, dog. Hey, paper trail, you don't count.
Yeah, what he said. So
He can't say that. I'm he a doctor for real.
Yeah.
I ain't no real doctor, so I can say it.
So we use the language of novel. When something's new, we say that's a novel test. Most of the insurers are not covering that test. So that $50 is because they don't cover it, even though it's affordable. So the short answer to your question is that there's a possibility that could be true. But it's so novel that hasn't really been the narrative historically, because they don't use it in that way. Well, so once you do that test and you have a score that's 0, you're celebrating. If it's 0 to 100, that's mild disease. If it's 100 to 400, that's moderate. And then anything over 400 is severe. There's a lot of clogging in your arteries, and you'll probably have to have a stress test. So historically, it's the stress test and maybe your cholesterol numbers that they would focus on. Therefore, that's what you need to concern yourself with. So, but I would argue I would do what he said, and then I would then try to do all the lifestyle changes that can reduce the progression. And when we go back to what I said earlier about which diets are best, they've had the Dr. Ornish study, which did include other things other than like a plant-based diet that show you can stop progression of plaques, right? But then you have studies that show all those metabolic markers that are important, low-carb, keto, also show that that's good for your heart. So you'll have to choose your path. But I would not do the test for that reason, although I think as a smart business decision, you may want to do things in a certain order. But I have not seen any patients have consequences of getting that information.
2.
Doctor, my question is, a lot of stuff we've been learning about, a lot of this connected right to your sleeping pattern. I sleep about maybe 3 to 4 hours a night. I don't get a lot of sleep. And is there anything that you can recommend, like naturally, that that can help I get a couple more hours of sleep?
Yeah, most of us are aware. And the question is, what can I do to improve my sleep naturally? So for me, if I take a trip to a place where the time zone is different, I may do melatonin for a short time. I wouldn't want to do melatonin too long because the exogenous or melatonin from your supplements may then suppress your natural melatonin. So I would say melatonin when you're trying to get into like a circadian rhythm. Magnesium is really wonderful for sleep, but you got to be careful. If it's oral magnesium, it's also good to keep you regular. So don't go crazy with the magnesium because you'll be saying, Dr. Hampton, I'm going to kill him as you're sitting down. So I want you to be looking for me. Ashwagandha is another supplement that's great because it's what they call an adaptogen, and that particular herb works with other hormones, so it's probably one of the best ones out there. What I do is I look like, I'll put blue blocker glasses on at night. So even with your short sleep pattern, I'll put the blue light blockers. It'll block all of the light, and I'll do that maybe an hour before I go to bed. And that'll increase your melatonin naturally. It's warning your body sleep's coming. In the morning, I have like one of those mood lights, Philips, Mood Lights, or other brands with 10,000 lux is what they call it. The bright light in the morning, that's when you want your cortisol to be high, and that's going to get you into a circadian rhythm. I like it cold in the house. I mean, 68 degrees, 69, because you sleep better. A warm shower, then get into a cold bed. Make it as dark as possible. There's a lot of tips, and I wrote an article, so if you search my name, Dr. Tony Hampton, sleep, you'll see an article online. I write articles for the Diet Doctor, which is a low-carb site. So there's a lot, but you want to start to look at, okay, I've worked on my diet, I'm moving my body. What can I do about my sleep? That's why your question is valuable. Your sleep will change your life. Let me just say this one thing and we'll go to the next question. If you get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and I hate to say this after that question, University of Chicago did the research, you're going to become borderline diabetic within a week. And for a lot of people. If you get 7 hours or 8 hours, it goes away within a week. So because lack of sleep is stress. Stress leads to cortisol, all those stress hormones you've heard of, like adrenaline and epinephrine. And then what happens is your liver starts to release sugar. Because your liver can actually, if you think about people who eat animals, right, like an Eskimo, where do they get their sugar from? Their protein and fat is converted to glucose from their liver. But if you're under stress or not getting enough sleep, you're going to be making all this extra sugar. So now your sugar is high. And by the way, your blood pressure will be high for 12 hours after getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. So the goal is to get more sleep, if possible. If you're working 2 jobs, find a job that pay more if possible, or work a little less. But ultimately, most people need at least 6 hours. Everybody is different, though. There are people who thrive on 5 or 6 hours, so it's not a one-size-fit-all. But my gut guess is if you wake up tired, you probably didn't get enough sleep.
Word. Number 3.
Yes, sir. I'm 69. My daughter convinced me to go to the doctor. I've been here years, and the doctor died a long time ago, and I ain't got another one. They just diagnosed me like 3 months ago, diabetes 2. And I work out. I feel good. So part of me is like, hey, well, they prescribe medication, metformin, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, should I go ahead and just start pounding all this medicine in, or that's why I came tonight. I want to hear some other things, diet, but should I still go with the medication, and how much should I wean off, or what kind of time frame should I see a difference so that I can tell my doctors?
All right. That's a good. So the question is, I'm newly diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and should I just take the medicines and go with that narrative, or should I consider other natural ways? And the answer is yes and yes. But the first thing you have to understand is that type 2 diabetes is a dietary disease. So I mentioned earlier that how small is a measuring cup? I went to school. Me and my wife went to Xavier in New Orleans, and it was red beans and rice every Friday, right? You remember that, dear? So a measuring cup of rice is 11 teaspoons of sugar, right? So the first thing you have to know, I didn't know that. So the first thing you have to say is, okay, I have an antidote in my medicine like metformin, Ozempic, whatever, glipizide. But what logical person would say, just keep giving me the antidote and I don't deal with the poison?
Right.
Who does that?
Right.
But it sounds like everybody does. Now, the problem with our healthcare system, and we're going to get better, is that we train doctors to treat symptoms. We train doctors to manage disease.
Right.
And we don't train them how to heal and reverse disease. So you have we're going to go outside, we're going to get to that intersection, and you can go left or right. I would suggest you go in the direction of lifestyle, but you use your medicine as bridge therapy.
Right.
So because you need an insurance policy so that it'll help you. But if you do a good job, like I remember interviewing Gwendolyn Butler, who's on my YouTube channel. She was on insulin for 11 years. She changed her diet, and she got off insulin in 45 days. That seems impossible. But she realized I never got rid of the poison. So your job, and you can go to the link tree, Dr. Tony Hampton, you'll see that list of things that you need to eat and avoid. And the thing that's going to surprise you is that a lot of fruit has a lot of sugar.
Yep.
So you have to say, well, should I be eating that? So when you get your testing machine or your continuous glucose monitor, an hour after you check it, is that number going up after you ate something? If the answer is yes, let's stop eating that and let's go to the next food. By the time you look up in a couple of months, you'll know. I'll refer you again. I have a video, how to do low carb. Dennis Pollock has a YouTube channel called Beat Diabetes. He's a pastor again who can teach you this. And I think if you take that approach, but then you got to talk to your doctor, because guess what's about to happen? If you go home and you eat an egg omelet with some sausage and bacon, which doesn't sound healthy, but there's hardly any carbs, right? Versus like Raisin Bran, a banana, and like some orange juice. The Raisin Bran, banana, and orange juice is 92 carbs. That's 23 teaspoons of sugar. The first meal with the egg, sausage, and bacon is 0. So what's going to happen to your blood sugar if you eat the egg, the bacon? It's going to
drop,
which means you need to reduce your medicine. So you have to talk to your doctor and say, I'm about to do some diets that's going to reduce my sugar. I need you to be prepared to reduce my medicines. So you can do it safely. But this is what happens when you realize that you're going to get rid of the poison. So the good news is you can completely reverse this. Make sure you do a C-peptide, if you can remember that. A C-peptide is a test to make sure you're not a 2 versus a 1. And if you are a type 2, this is completely reversible, especially for a person who just got it. And you should be able to walk away with no medicines within a short amount of time.
So there's hope for you, Doc. Glad you came through. Mr. Adams showed me so much love on the social media, man. I'm glad to see this brother. So, hey, man, we need you around a couple more years, man. We got a lot more victories to celebrate together, man. You feel me? Yes, sir. I'm going to hit you up too, like, man, what we eating today? Don't be shocked. You know where it came from, man. My number 4 back there. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I was just going to ask her how much you paid. I was just about to say, how much did he give you to say that? I know this guy. We pay a lot of people to do stuff for us. So I know he on some.
Struggle. I'm hearing struggle, and what I've learned is kind of anticipate life will be a struggle, right? And it may be a struggle because somebody in your family was in an accident. Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's them. So when a struggle comes your way, you have a choice. You can get mad. You can say, why me? Or you can do what she just said. She said, I'm going to give it to God, and I'm going to get my mind right. We already said that your mind was half the battle, right? So I look at struggle as a cloud. It's going to come. We're in Chicago and Wisconsin, right?
Yes, sir.
It's going to be some clouds, some snow, and there. We've had a pretty good winter, but in general, it's going to come. And I'm going to acknowledge it, I'm gonna I see it, I'm gonna acknowledge it, and then but it's gonna keep going by. So your goal is to, with the tools we've talked about today, is equip yourself with the tools so that when you struggle, you'll have a way to deal with the struggle. So now that you know that diabetes type 2 is reversible, you can walk out of here saying, oh, I'm good now. I'm not destined to be a pincushion. I hate to be dramatic. I'm not destined to have to stick myself every day. I'm destined to heal and reverse this stuff. And one day we'll live in a country, and I'm so happy my health system is moving towards, we've been we're one of the top quality organizations in the country. They compare us to Cleveland Clinic and Mayo Clinic in terms of the numbers that we get. But are we going to be a community of healing? I want to live in a country where I get paid more money to take you off your medicine.
That's huge.
Right? But we don't live in that kind of country right now. We live in a country that I get paid more money the sicker you are. That's just, now, and it's fair in a way because it's more work and I have to put more time into it, but I want to so we have a lot of work to do. We have to just push our country towards that model. Healing is the key. It's not about managing anything. It's about, how can I reverse this, and why did I get it in the first place? And once you understand those struggles and how they impact your health as well, I think that you're going to be in a better place.
So let me ask y'all this. Was this thing impactful for y'all? Should we do more of these? Okay. I like that a lot. So listen. Patrick White, where are you, sir? Right here. Okay. So my man Pat, stand up for me, brother. So my man Patrick, he's I Design Media. I need everybody who has time to step over to Patrick and just give him a little 30 seconds of what you got out of tonight. Because what I want to do is go home and watch however many of these they are and figure out how we can get better. See, because you never can do anything perfect, but you can always strive for perfection. You feel what I'm saying? So what I want to do is continue to grow these things. Next time I want to be in a room bigger than that. I didn't know these many people was going to be here. I'm going to be honest with you. So next time we're going to do it where we got more chairs and all that type of stuff. Maybe next thing you know, I'm renting out the Pfizer. You feel what I'm saying? Didn't I tell y'all my mind go crazy places? I might raise an offering in the Pfizer though, so y'all bring y'all $1 now. I'm going to get that $20,000, $23,000. No, I'm just playing. So listen, I want y'all to look for this book that Dr. Hampton has. I'm sure you probably got 4 or 5, but the one we've been promoting is Fix Your Diet, Fix Your Diabetes. I want y'all to grab it on Amazon, wherever you grab books, because it can help you. I got my copy, and we want to give away 2 copies. So what we're going to do, we're going to give away 2 copies, and we're going to have them shipped to your home. Right? I want to give one to Mr. Adams. So, Mr. Adams, I need your address. We're going to ship you one just on the strength. All right? And then when I want to give my other one to, I'll let Pastor Locke pick who he wants to give the other one to. All right? So whoever he pick, he'll give me the address. And we're going to send those 2 books out to Mr. Adams and then whoever Pastor Locke chooses from his congregation. Because y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all chose to rock with us. So in closing, I want to thank Dr. Hampton and his lovely wife for coming on to the meal. Show some love. Yeah, come on, show him some love. Y'all can do better than that. And if we got some food left, take it with you because you can't go with me. I'm on a diet. Y'all see I'm looking slim. I'm looking slim, right? Okay. And then last thing I got to say before we leave, one thing about a dream, it never expires. Thank y'all for coming out. God bless y'all.